So my talk this afternoon is on a similar vein, the unfolding spiritual journey, but this is from the Carole angle. Now, this talk, it's about a journey that most of us embark on, in fact most of you have already, when we realise that there's something more to our life than work, possessions, hobbies, even family and friends. It is about understanding who we really are. It's an inner urge to find out more about ourselves and our relationship in the world with each other. The stages I've identified are not as clearly defined as I've put them in this presentation. It's just a guide. They can be in a different order as they come to you, or even at the same time. Some may not even need experiencing, and some are even repeated over. So what I'll do is, I'll describe the phase and then the signs of the phase. The time lengths that these phases generally take with most people, although the timelines are still just the guideline. So everyone here is on a different spiritual journey. Some may be further along than others, but hopefully you can identify with these phases, as most of you have likely experienced something. So first of all, we need to look at what we're like before we embark on our spiritual alignment. And this is just to give you an indication what it's like, what people are like before they've spiritually awoken, usually in their youth. People closely aligned with their personal ego consciousness, and that often causes us to be defensive and hurt and angry, especially towards others when something goes wrong with themselves. They believe that life is what happens to us, rather than us creating our own life. And we also live in a very reactive way, based on societal and cultural values, and we don't often question those values. We become very judgmental on how people look and act, rather than seeing them as they truly are. Conversely, the way that you look yourself and act is how you identify with who you are. For instance, the basic identification comes from your gender, your race, the things that you learn in school. It could be a good skill or a bad skill, and your astrological signs, things like that. They build you up to think that that is who you are. I also believe that throughout your life you are given the opportunity to awaken many times, and it is still your choice how to react and think deeper and investigate more. So we'll start on phase 1, and it is the awakening phase. This is when you have a yearning for something other than the materialistic world, or a profound inner quest for that meaning. And there are 2 common ways that this may occur. And the first one is some life crisis, when something in your life falls apart. It could be a relationship breaking down, family events such as a death of a loved one, accident or diagnosis. There's something big enough to pull the rug out from underneath you. Your ego loses its grip, and you are left wondering what life is all about. And the other one is spontaneous, because there's no suffering, pain or shock. This seems to happen more frequently, especially in today's world, because we've got a lot of technology and rules. Everything is, especially if you look at the way banks rule, you have to have 5 different passwords, or there's no empathy. So yeah, you sort of think, well, what am I doing here? What is the purpose when life can be so hard and cruel? So there must be something more. And under this one, there's also the category of where people nowadays are more open-minded, and they're thinking that they have conversations about things that were never allowed a century ago. So that is also current topics, the things that people start questioning. For instance, Susanna's talk on these unusual occurrences that they can only call divine. And a lot of these can actually come through movies, and I'm just giving an example of The Matrix. Now The Matrix, when we saw it with another couple, and we went back to the other couple's place for coffee, and we started talking about it, and the husband said, oh, wouldn't it be unusual if this world was a matrix? And that was the very first conversation that came about from the matrix. And his wife said, oh no, I don't think that would be a very good idea. But I think she was thinking of being plugged in at the back, kind of thing. And the 3 of us said, no, we thought that there's a real possibility that the matrix has some clue in there as to what our life is really all about. So, yeah, there is a sense of restlessness and dissatisfaction. And that's the next one. So we have there the signs of waking up. There is a sense of restlessness, and a deep curiosity stirs within, prompting exploration of alternative views, cultures, practices. And this may include attending various spiritual gatherings, such as here, learning meditation or yoga, researching philosophical teachings, reading lots of books, going on retreats, or seeking out spiritual leaders. Part of this phase, we're into phase 2, which is where your heart opens up. This is the best part of the best phases, when, wow, you've discovered something other than just general everyday life that's just, given you that real wonderful feeling. And it usually happens right after waking up, feeling alive, energised and connected to something. It could be God, could be nature or energy. And you do feel one with something. Something is, feel a connection there. You also go through emotions. You have beautiful emotions. And there are things like ecstasy. You hear this song that is quite spontaneous. It means something to you. Any type of music just pulls at your heartstrings. Watching sunsets or at a scenery, listening to poetry, that kind of thing. It just stirs you up from within. Unfortunately, the timing for this is very brief. It's only a few days to maybe a month at the most. And we unfortunately think we are naively going to have this lasting forever. But we get in the way. Oh, sorry, I didn't pass it on. Okay. Some of the signs are synchronicities and miracles that occur. I'll go into that a bit more. And something that we've just been talking about, we get touched by angels and observe messages around us. Now, Carl Jung had an incident where someone had dreams of fish, and they were talking about, what are you going to do today? And he said, I'm going to go fishing. And he saw signs that said fish on the way to the office. He had a whole heap of things, and it made him think, what's going on here? So there are things that occur that make you sit up and think, whereas maybe before you may never have done that. You become more intuitive and spiritual gifts start to surface. In actual fact, you may have already had them, but because you're now aware and awake, you start to notice these things, that your intuition, you observe it more. And you have the excitement that creates joyful feelings not felt in years, much like a child does when he goes out on Christmas Day with a tree all lit up and presents underneath. That joy comes back to you that you had as a child. So we enter these natural high experiences. Third phase is the dark night of the soul. It's also called the Great Purge, which I think describes it better. And this is a time, it's actually an opportunity to work through some of the issues, because you see that they've been holding you back from the bliss that you realise that you can now have, and you want to experience more bliss. You may experience anything from depression or despair, anxiety, fears that you can work through easier with the realisation of a potentially better state of being. It can be the most difficult stage of our awakening and may take months to years, depending on what you have to purge and how willing you are and how long it can take for you. Some of the signs that we experience are that all our repressed feelings start to surface, that you realise they need healing or release. And the old self disappears and dies away, and you feel reborn into something much more meaningful. Phase 4 is called the lonely journey. Life feels that it has stopped, or you come to a place of no man's land. You feel out there on your own. Now, having developed through and understanding more of the spiritual self, and recent discoveries may have distanced you away from people who no longer understand you, and they're not aware of what you've been through. And you may be in between your old world energy system, building a new energy system for a more authentic you. You may feel as if you're in a cocoon, becoming a butterfly, building re-emergence into the world. And you often feel a bit of loneliness, tiredness, sometimes even deep peace, because you're becoming a lot more serene. And this stage takes months or years, depending on your path, your soul's desires, and the support that you find around you. And it's important to look for others to gain self-reflection, finding them as part of this phase. Some of the signs of the loneliness phase is learning to discern what aligns you with your new spiritual values, beliefs and inspirations that will inevitably shape your spiritual journey and your inner growth. And here you're turning inwards more. Contemplation encourages seekers to challenge preconceived notions and cultural conditioning that they have been brought up with. Relationships are relinquished. There are often, because you're no longer compatible, but new, more appropriate ones form, usually with people of like mind. You leave jobs that hold no meaning for you. You replace them with ones that do hold value, either for yourself or for others. Now, as an example, I worked in a major manufacturing company, and when I left, I was very disillusioned with the atmosphere. It was about profit all the time, and staff, weren't as significant. And so when I was looking for another job, I put it out there. I said, okay, I'm going to find a job that is going to help people or be of service in some positive way. And pretty much soon after I had made that dedication, a job in the paper. That was a while ago. There was a PA job at the Methodist Mission, and so I applied. And despite having maybe slightly spiritual values that are different from Methodists, I was employed, and I was there for 10 years. I loved it. And it just sort of, and my next job is also one of service, so you've just got to put it out there what you want. I've put this little screen in, and it's about growth, because all during this spiritual growth period, we ask these existential questions all of the time, and we may think we have an answer, but the answer keeps changing as we learn more. And it's not something that we've got it wrong, it's just that we are on our spiritual path, and that may evolve all the time. And they are the ones like your usual, who am I really? And why was I born into this world? And what is the meaning of life? Who and what is God? That's a big one. And eventually, what is the truth? Because you hear so many different people saying different things. So you have to make your own mind up about what is the truth. Okay, fifth phase, there's 6 of them. And this is the grounding phase. And this is a time when we're starting to really develop. Our energy needs to be anchored, as it's time to grow roots like a tree. I think it was Kirsty who had a lot of tree roots, and it feels a bit like that. You're not sure, but you do need to get yourself stabilised into the ground, because you become very lightheaded. Learning meditation and healing modalities, you can be left feeling lightheaded with the vibrations being raised. It's a time to discover what we are really passionate about, and we seek for balance in the world. With so many options that we have available for us, we can follow what we like. We are ready for lessons that we can focus on, and then we can share it with others. You learn about being a manifester instead of being a victim. And you develop more stability in your energy levels. When I was younger, my energy levels were up, down, happy one minute, depressed the next, and now they're all quite stable. Eventually you do meet people out of the blue who teach you what you most wanted to learn, and you start to feel connected, one with compassion and love. Or perhaps we empathise on a deeper level, but we are much stronger. We appreciate nature, serenity a lot more. And this phase is quite a lot longer, maybe over a year. Some of the signs we have of grounding, we become spiritually and emotionally mature. So we're really getting somewhere now. People will seek you with questions that they think you may know the answer to, because you've been seeking, you're learning as you go, and you may be able to answer other people's searching journey. You will seek people who may know the answers to your questions. You experience connectedness instead of separation. The last phase can keep going on forever. It's your life of spiritual alignment. You feel a totally different person than when you first woke up. You are more confident. You are able to cope and adapt to situations that arise and test you. And you learn from each experience. You learn to tolerate negative people by seeing past their issues into their soul. You walk with deep purpose, even if you're not sure what is happening. You have trust in the universe and no longer let life circumstances sway you from your path. You are committed to your destiny, and you look to fulfill what you feel is within your heart's desire. And this will be, once you come to this point, you carry on like that. Some of the signs are that you want to share what you've learnt and understood. You want to help people who are looking for their own deep goals, their desires and dreams. You want to see that, you want to help people seek their own spiritual answers. You want peace in the world, just like every Miss Universe. But you learn to find peace within yourself first, because that's where it comes from. And I believe that we are all unconsciously moving towards this planet achieving ascension together. Together we make it happen. And we can call this the shift of the ages, but it's always that 100th monkey thing. The more people that we can join together, the greater the upliftment of our vibrations. And there is hope in the world. So, where to from here? What's next? Once we have reached this point, what happens? So, we have to make some choices. So, we may want to teach what we've learnt. We may have learnt some healing modalities, so we want to take that up to help people's ailments, help guide them, learn counselling or do something like that. There are many different options we can take. Being of service to others, that can be like taking on a medical role, or just doing something that helps other people. Also volunteering in other roles as well. It may be hospice or food banks. It's your passion where you want to go from here. And then of course you may even have a stronger desire to go further with your spiritual development, find ascension, enlightenment. That's all part of it. Now you probably notice there's another little tag on there, which is a TV devices, and I thought I'd put this in because a lot of people may feel guilty about just going home watching TV, getting on the computer playing games or watching videos, as we all do really, and I think it's a point not to feel guilty having these moments, because when you've reached this phase, there's always something that inspires you and moves you in a different direction. I'd probably call it another purpose in your life that you want to take up. And it just depends. You may find it on TV, you may find it in a computer, but you put it out there, you look for it, and the light in your life will just reignite quite easily. Yes, you have to look at what your dreams are and what your innermost longings. And our dreams do nag at us because we are supposed to fulfill them. When we live our dreams, we are creating and contributing to the balance and harmony of this planet. We are likely in alignment with our original intentions, and they were planned for us before our birth. Your life can never be the same. You will be living your life and not just existing. You were born to greatness. Know that the world has need of you. So what are we ultimately looking for throughout our life? So we seek to become a more authentic divine soul. We want to reach and connect with God and the universe more. We understand the oneness of all things rather than the duality. We look for similarities rather than the differences. Relationships become more sincere and based on love. We find divinity in all things. It could be a rock, but we learn that everything has a vibration, and we learn that we can harmonise. We also need to trust that everything is as it should be. We want to find balance in the world, And that balance can take any shape or form. Most people will think of either mind, body, spirit balance. But I also like the way that Plato had spoken of a balancing the chakras, and he called it the three different things were the eros, which is the desire, and it's the lower part of your abdomen, and that's the spark that comes with setting you into an interest. And the middle part, the upper part of your abdomen, is the thymos, where the passion comes from the heart and the sacral area here. And that gives you the passion and the want to do more, seek more, search more in that subject. And then the upper part is the mind, and that's your intellectual, exploring mind. So that one is quite a good one when you think of the balance that way as well in your spiritual development. You're also replacing the ego with the I am, as aligned more with God than ourselves at the centre. We want to make our lives more valued to people. We are only here temporarily as a reminder. We don't need to bust a gut to try and become fully enlightened in this life. We're here with certain purposes, so it depends upon yourself entirely. There's no punishment for not getting your purposes fulfilled before your time is up. We want to train our mind to be more present. We want to stop all the movements in our mind. We want to find more stillness. And that is, someone just repeated earlier, that, I think it was John, mind is the slayer of the truth, where Helena Blavatsky talked about how the mind might be feeling still and serene, but the moment we go into a past scenario or a future scenario, we've taken ourselves, we've slain what was really happening to us, which was the truth. So now I'm just going to finish with some quotes, or a little bit more, nearly there. Quotes from Madame Blavatsky. She had some wonderful quotes that were about spiritual development, and you may have read quite a lot of these, I'm sure, and I'll try and go through them. The true guidance is like a small torch in a dark forest. It doesn't show everything at once, but it gives enough light for the next step to be safe. Now that really is just showing us that we need to trust and understand that we can't see the big picture, but we can follow the light. Another one, to unveil the beauty of truth, we must unfold the petals of inquiry. And that means don't just take something at face value. For instance, the lotus flower, or just say chrysanthemum, you need to actually open up the petals, and then you'll see what's truly inside, and there may be more than you expected. The path to wisdom is paved with self-realisation and questioning the status quo. So it's all about looking within and questioning without. Wisdom is not acquired, it is remembered. It's not about going along and picking a flower, enjoying it for the moment, and then discarding it. You need to actually experience it, feel it, and put it into your spiritual soul memory. And then in the realm of spirituality, personal experience is the ultimate teacher. Now, I think that's very much saying that what we experience is the part of our learning, and we often can only do that by having experienced what we've had to go through. But I also like to remind everyone here that you can learn from others. If you feel their journey, you listen to where it's taking them, you can learn a lot from other people as well. Spirituality is not an escape from reality, it's a deeper understanding of it. So there's no point escaping it. You might as well learn what you need to learn. And true change starts from within, transforming the outer world in the process. And that, of course, comes from finding peace in the world. It needs to come from within here first. And I have one more final quote that I think is a really important one. The key to spiritual growth lies in the expansion of consciousness. And in my talk here, I'm aware that all that I've mentioned here comes under this one word, consciousness. Because consciousness is the unfolding journey that brings you greater consciousness, the wisdom that you acquire as you follow along your pathway. Now, I've just sort of discovered this in a very simplistic way, but consciousness generally takes two forms. There's that's in the absolute, the consciousness that is pure, ever free and unlimited, and that belongs with our higher self, the higher kingdoms, the whole universe, all ticks along under this higher consciousness. And the other one is the body form, which is very relative. So it's quite limited to what you can deal with in a physical form. In our physical various bodies, we feel the need to complete ourselves with the mind, but in a physical world, change must take place. It must conform to the vehicle that it resides in, being unable to express its natural purity and freedom until it is tuned into perfect instruments that respond to every vibration. You are the path. As at the feet of the Master says, the body must become like a pen in the hand of the writer, a fine instrument which will respond to the slightest touch of the inner Atma, like the higher self there, the consciousness which is pure, ever free and boundless. And the voice of silence states that one cannot travel on the path until one has become the path itself. So you actually need to commit yourself to your path. And then I come from a Course in Miracles background, and to me, experience of this life is where we learn. It is our journey. It is our path. So life is not about the destination. You've all heard this. Life is not about the destination. It's the journey that we travel on. You are here to experience life in a human form, whether it be a good life, a tough life, or a little bit of both. Your life was pre-planned. Your conscious development is not about good or bad, hard or easy choices. It is more about living within your truth and loving the life and the people you share, the journey you are taking. However, to truly follow that path, at some stage, the seeker must look at their life from a deeper level and choose what must be done over any pursuit for pleasure. This is when the real path opens up. Now, Madame Blavatsky said that when you choose this path, life is never easy. It will always be a challenge, but every step along the way gives you that extra step towards understanding and wisdom. Light on the Path states that those that ask shall have. However, the voice of the mind must only be heard on the plane on which the mind acts. So as much as you might think a lot, you need to act on what you're learning, what you're thinking. Make it become part of you. And my last slide, it's about the call for love. You must listen. Love is the only better decision that you can make, and choose always love. So that's the end of my talk, and if, yeah, I hope you'll wait